So now it just slides, okay? See that? Slip, slide, that's the deal. Put on your split shot, put on your jig, and you're ready to fish slip float crappie. So we're going to go through some of my favorite selections of slip floats. Why I pick certain styles, sizes, different shapes and forms and stuff. But one thing is common, having the ability to constantly change the depth with the bobber stop of where I'm fishing. But I've got different options of slip floats based on different size of baits and jig heads. So I have variety until the fish tell me exactly what they want, where they are, how they want to eat, different color baits, sizes. You know, I look in here and it can be confusing. Slip floats, does he have enough of them? Never enough. Not when you're a fisherman, seriously. But when I'm picking the different areas to fish with slip floats, the biggest consideration I have is the different sizes of the floats to match the conditions, wave conditions, the depth I'm fishing, the size of the jig head and stuff. So I'm going to try to break down a few things that will help you when you're fishing slip float crappie in spring, summer, fall. Okay, so basically you see there's so many different styles, big, bad, small, thin, wild, but the number one theme is having that signal for bites, the indicator. You know, it's just something about seeing that little slip float go down. And the premise of slip float fishing is using these little bobber stops, okay, and they're pin, very easy to put on. I'll show you how to do that, okay. But the premise is those being put on the line, up on the line at different depths, like this one's about 5 feet, and it's right there on this rod, that I can adjust it back and forth until I find the exact depth the fish are sitting on either weed, rock, or wood, or sometimes I can put it down 15 feet if I wanted to, if the fish are suspended. Another crappie. Look how they move. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's probably a fryer. We're going to have a fish fry tonight. He's a fryer. Yeah, he looks like a male too. Guess what, buddy? You're coming home and making a cameraman and guest of the show, host of the show, just an eater. Look at 11-inch crappie eaters. Okay, here's your little bobber stops, okay? They come on these little wires and stuff, and they have like little loops at the end, which makes it easy. So I just pick the end of my line like this, that I'm going to put the slip float on. And you got the little loop, so you just put it through the loop, just like that. Bring it up a little bit through here, okay? Then you just take the end of the little bobber stop, push it like that, slide it up, and now it's on the line. Look at that, there's your line. So now I just put it up the line, just out of the way. When I'm putting the float on, you just get your favorite float, whatever one you decide to pick, and you just put it in, put it through the middle of the float, comes out. So now it just slides, okay? See that? Slip, slide, that's the deal. Put on your split shot, put on your jig, and you're ready to fish slip float crappie. Now when conditions are a little bit more calm and you have the fish sort of positioned on close to a weed bed or edge, and you can get away with using a smaller float, I really prefer the more slender type. It goes down easier, it signals bites really easy, okay, because it's so slender. But you don't want to consider something like that other than maybe like more of the egg shape if you have more wave action and wind and things. Hard to see these floats and hard to balance it right when you're using small jigs as well, like in this segment. So I'm using small jigs. I don't want to use the egg shape, okay? I really have confidence in the small little slender like a pencil type that just sits, and I just weigh it or put the split shots on. So just, I'd say a little bit more than 3/4 of the float is out of the water. So it accomplishes a lot of things. It shows me those little knocks. Sometimes it's just a knock. The float doesn't even go down. So sometimes it just goes sideways. You know why? Because the crappie come up and eat the bait and hold it. They don't swim away, they're just holding it. So the float, it's so sensitive, the way I have it balanced, that it just goes sideways. When it does that, set hook. I've got the float here about, I'd say 5 feet or so. And that marker buoy out there is sitting on weeds in about 10 feet. Then it tapers down to 11, 12, 13. And I think they're just all positioned on the edge of that. But we can just use it as a reference, like I always say, and zigzag all the way around the weed bed and see where those bigger fish are. That's the beauty of a slip float, always changing the weight, the depth of it. Oh, light bite there. So I'm in 16 feet right now. Those fish are probably right up tight against that edge of that weed. So what I'm going to do is put it down a little bit more. Maybe put it right in front of their nose. Get it to about 6 feet. Let them tell me how they want to eat, where they are. So, oh, better fish. Uh-oh. I think so. Yeah, oh yeah. Better crappie. Look at that. That's a better one. Yeah, I think that's a fryer. See, what's a fryer? That's a fryer. Look where he's got it too. Look at this. Look at that. Man, you just know when they're schooling up like that, they munch it like that, because they don't want their buddy to get it. Yeah, he's an eater. Let's put him in there. So my little slip float game plan is coming together. Let's see if I can pop a couple more right while you're watching here. Right up here. Had crappie slime on my fingers. Up at the front of the weed bed. Up the front. They're there, they just pop it, eh? See, it's so important to have the adjustable little bobber stop, okay? It just slides up and down. It does not put any damage on your line whatsoever. You know, they're just made perfectly, so you can just slide it back and forth based on where the fish are, and you can see that sometimes I put it down to like 7 feet, nothing, 6 feet, nothing, 5 feet. So what that shows me is these fish are right above the weed, right above, and they're moving around that weed bed back and forth, because every time I adjust it back to about 5 feet, I make them look up, and in that little bit of wave action, it's moving the float, okay? The float's moving. So I'm not doing a lot of things. Once in a while, little twitches of the rod tip just to get those little crappie magnet little feet or little legs kind of thing, just kick a little bit. A lot of times you can provoke a crappie to bite. But basically, it's just going along, little twitches, and find the right depth, find the fish on the school, and you'll catch them. Yep. Oh boy. Oh, good one too. Oh yeah. Much better fish. Look at that. That splish splash. Nice feeling when you find them. I think it's another male too. And I want to show you something about when I'm fishing slip floats like this on weed beds and things. See the wind coming behind me? So it pushes me off the fish when I get disoriented on taking fish off and stuff, so I'm not going on top of fish. I have the Marker Boys reference, so I'm almost can just pinpoint where to put that slip float. Pinpoint it right on where they are. And he's an eater. He's going in there. Invest in Marker Boys, because this showed me exactly where they were sometimes in reference. So I put this right at the peak of that weed bed, which is 10 feet. It was the peak, all the way around 11, 12, taper down 14, 15. Have my boat in about 15 feet of water and made those casts. But sometimes, because of the Marker Boy, it was like 50, 60 feet ahead of the Marker Boy, specific spot, so I use it as a reference of where I caught 2 or 3 fish in a row. But if I didn't have the Marker Boy out, I'm just playing by mind. My boat's sitting, yeah, I got GPS, yes, I have waypoints, but the Marker Boy is visual. You can't beat it. So I saw exactly where it was. Every time I casted specifically where those fish moved to the front of the weed bed, this showed me exactly where to put that little bait, and I couldn't miss. Every time I cast there, the float settled, the float would go down. Okay, a lot of times you're using the real small, even the slender little pencil-like floats with little baits like the crappie magnet, and this is 1/16 ounce, sometimes even go down as low as 1/32 ounce. You just can't achieve that float sitting vertical as you like. So you see me using a lot of times little split shots, different sizes. They're mostly small. All that does is achieve putting it on the line like that there. I crimp it on, and I do not slide it up and down the line. I crimp it on with a pair of pliers about a foot above the bait right there. So it helps me achieve 2 things. I can watch that float sit totally vertical, and it's so balanced that anything a crappie does, that float will show me, signal the bite but it achieves that little bait getting down into the zone where I want it to be, close to the crappie, so they can come up and either bump it or eat it, and this float will show me because I have a bit more weight on with the split shot. Oh, I think we got another one for you. Oh yeah, it is. Bottom of the jaw, a skinny male, but perfect size. There's a testament using good jigs. Yeah, eater. See? Yeah, you're all skinny. Put and take fishery. Respect it, but man, feel free to enjoy. But most times this is about fishing it between 5, 8 to 10 feet down, let's say, adjusting it back and forth so that little slip float just slides as you have your little split shot. I add that just to make sure that the little jig gets down a little faster, because when I'm using 1/16 ounce, it takes a little bit of time to get down there, and I don't want to go through the area where I'm catching fish where this bait is way up here. I want it down drifting by their faces. So I add that split shot for two things it accomplishes. It helps the float stay more vertical like this, and as well it helps that bait get down a bit quicker so the float can settle up and then go in the wind back and forth, so I'm in that zone of where the crappie are, okay? So there's different styles, different sizes and stuff, but popular ones are the thin one like that, Northland Light Bite, more like a pencil style, okay? Just thin there. Another popular style, obviously, as you've seen before, is like, looks like a little Easter egg, okay? You can tell they get beat up because I use them a lot. Different sizes. They have like 1/2 inch, 3/4, 7/8. You know, if you check online with Northland, you'll see, but most companies have the same similar things as well. I have other ones, a little bit bigger. So if I use, let's say, a bit heavier jig head with or more wave action and stuff, so I can see the float easier, I'll use a little bit bigger slip float, okay? Smaller one, bigger one. And then I have another option. I can use the ones that look like steelhead floats. So I use enough weight so all that's sticking out of the water is the orange by the white line, the black indicator going. And the key is that when these fish bite, they don't feel anything. The floats are so sensitive the way I set it up that it just goes down slow. You know, it's just like they're grabbing a minnow or a little bait fish and they're going with it. That's the key with the slip floats. Slender design, easy to pull down. The fish don't grab it, feel resistance, and maybe spit it out. So there's different sizes, different shapes, but all in all, slip float for crappie, you can't beat it.